Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Tuesday, August 13th, 2019, and today we're going to be looking at the 2024 projected electoral map based off the 270 to win website. This is a very, very early prediction. Obviously, we're 5 years away from the actual general election in 2024, and we haven't even hit 2020 yet, and not even the 2019 election. So I'm just doing this video purely for fun. Right now, on your screen, we have the electoral map, but it looks a little bit different. If we're looking at some of the numbers, states like Montana now have 4 electoral votes, and states like New York have lost electoral votes, moving it down from 29 to 27. Montana went from 3 to 4. Pennsylvania went from 20 to 19. I'm not going to list all of the changes. You can see them all on your screen right now. So if this was the actual 2016 presidential election, Hillary Clinton would get 229 electoral votes compared to the 232 she got in the regular election. That is because, population trends shifting out of areas that Hillary Clinton won in and into areas that Trump won in. For example, Texas, Florida, and losing electoral votes out of states like New York and Minnesota. Right now on your screen, we have all 538 electoral votes up for toss-ups. For the Republican nominee, it just shows Trump. That's built into the 270 to win software. I guess I forgot to change that. I could have sworn I did it, but I guess it just reverted. The Democrat one, however, is left up for grabs, so that could be whoever is running in 2024. Same thing with the GOP. So let's say, for example, Trump does win re-election. Let's base this electoral map based off how I think population trends are going to go rather than how the 2020 election will go, and then base the 2024 election off of that, because we have a long way away from 2020 and an even longer way away from 2024. So I'm not going to make any, presumptive notions about the 2020 election. So we'll start off with all of the safe Republican and then move on to the safe Democratic states. I still think some of these states are definitely going to stay the same. We still have the same American population that we had 4 years prior to this, so 2020. Even if a Democrat does win in 2020, it's not going to be a landslide per se, as in like 400 plus electoral votes. There could be a possibility of 200, 360 plus if there's the right Democrat and the wrong Republican, or vice versa. I would say that there's a more likely scenario for a landslide for the Democrats in 2024 if Trump wins re-election and then there is a really bad Republican nominee. Because if we're looking at a number of these states like Texas and Florida are taking an influx of minority voters, which generally favor the Democratic Party and will continue to favor the Democratic Party in the near future unless something changes within the GOP or within the Democratic Party itself. And if we're looking at other trends throughout the rest of this country, states like North Carolina and Georgia and Arizona are also taking in more minorities. Areas, people that are moving possibly out of the Rust Belt, which generally you wouldn't expect to be minority voters, but if we're talking about the African American population booming in areas in the South, or the Latino population booming in areas in the Sun Belt and Florida, or I guess you could say Puerto Ricans moving from Puerto Rico to Florida. Yes, Puerto Rico is part of the United States, but they don't vote in the presidential election, but they would in Florida. A lot of things change when we're talking about 5 years from now. A lot of experts do expect a number of these states to have a slight blue tilt further than where they were back in 2016, or 2012, just because of the population shifts. And I completely agree. If we're seeing an influx of minority voters in states like Texas and Florida, that's definitely going to help the Democratic Party a lot better than if they were moving out of those states, the states that are now adding electoral votes. So I've been talking too long. Let's go ahead and fill in some of these safe Republican states. Again, this map is not likely to change. Nebraska does have, this part isn't even working right now, but Nebraska would have the 2nd district up for grabs as usual. Going through the South, pretty much all the states remain the same. We're talking about West Virginia, South Carolina, Indiana, Missouri. Now, South Carolina does have an interesting, history or future, to be completely honest with you. 2028, we could possibly see South Carolina become a lot closer than where it was back in 2016 or 2012 or 2020. And the reason for that, again, if we're talking about the South, African-American population, booming per se, compared to where it is in other parts of the country, South Carolina definitely would be getting more minority voters, and obviously, as a result, would become more Democratic. That's just how the voting trends go. Generally, white voters are voters for the Republicans, and minority voters are voting for the Democrats. And South Carolina is no exception. We've seen Texas shift from safe Republican in 2012 down to likely Republican in 2016, down to lean Republican back in 2018, and we'll see how it ends up in 2020. 2024 could be another shift for states like Texas and Georgia, but future elections could also be shifts for states like South Carolina. In fact, I'm not too sure about characterizing South Carolina as a safe state as of right now in 2024, but I will. And also, this one doesn't have lean characterizations. It'd be really interesting if yet another political map simulator had a 2024 map, because I would definitely use that in comparison to this one, because this one only has solid colors on 270 to win. But Utah and Alaska, these states are generally going to stay the same in favor of the GOP. So that puts Trump at 125 electoral votes. The Democrats, of course, at 0 because I've yet to fill in their map. Let's go ahead and fill in all the safe states for the Democrats. If we're talking about the Northeast, not much changes in terms of electoral representation. Rhode Island loses an electoral vote. The rest of them stay the same. Not New Jersey, sorry about that. New York loses 2 electoral votes, moving down from 29 to 27. Illinois loses 1 from 20 to 19. California does not gain any. I thought it would gain 1. I think way back in 2017, the early numbers had estimated that California might gain 1 electoral vote. That is not the case. Oregon, however, has gained 1 electoral vote, moving from 7 to 8. Washington, I believe, was always at 12. I remember 2008 it was at 12. I'm pretty sure it was 12, 7, 55 when I'm looking at the regular map. In areas, if you're looking around, that have gained electoral votes: Arizona, Colorado, Texas, Florida, North Carolina. States that lost: Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Minnesota. Some of the Rust Belt states that were actually crucial to Trump's victory back in 2016. So 179 electoral votes for the Democrats, 125 for the GOP. Generally, I think that a number of these states are going to stay the same. This is the same American electorate that we're working with. And if we're looking at the 2016 map compared to the 2020 projected map based off a number of political pundits, the map generally looks the same. We see the same safe Republican states right across this area, same safe Northeastern Democratic states on the west, and Illinois. And then we're talking about the same Rust Belt states that are toss-ups. I mean, we could see a new type of toss-up, let's say Kansas, for instance, which has shown an interesting result back in 2018 in terms of the governor election, actually electing a Democrat, flipping it from red to blue. And if we're looking at states like Texas and Georgia and North Carolina and Arizona and Florida, with stronger minority populations than in the past, with, again, of course, an edge towards the Democratic Party because of that, we could see some other states pop up as swing states. Now, I'm not saying states like Oklahoma and Arkansas and Louisiana are going to become Democratic states, but we may be missing out on a state that could be a toss-up in 2024. Back in the year 2000, you probably wouldn't expect that the first African-American president would win in states like Indiana, become close in states like Montana and Missouri, win in North Carolina, win in Virginia, come close in states like Georgia, and even the running mates, the opponent's home state of Arizona. States like Florida, winning in Florida, winning across the Rust Belt by 10-plus point margins. I mean, it was just an entirely different election 8 years from when everyone expected the electoral map to stay the same. But generally, a number of those states from 2008 to 2000 crossed over, a number of safe states. And 2008 was also a Democratic wave year. I think 2024 could be a Democratic wave year if Donald Trump wins re-election. That is the only way I think that it would be a Democratic wave year. The Democratic Party would have to nominate someone extremely good to win in 2020 if they want to have a good year in 2024. There's never been a time in American history where we've had 4 presidents consecutively win re-election. Obama became the second, it made it the second time that 3 presidents won re-election 3 times in a row, but this time would be a first if Trump is to win re-election. But again, this 2024 map, being a Democratic wave year, would only be contingent on Trump's victory in 2020. So let's go ahead and characterize some of the states that I still think are going to stay the same. States like New Mexico, Colorado, Virginia, New Hampshire, actually, Maine, even though that 2nd district definitely would get close. States that I think would remain the same for the GOP. Looking at Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, Ohio, Iowa, these states. I'm just going through them very briefly. I don't think we have a lot of data on projected population in terms of how they're going to redraw the districts and how, the population of minorities is going to congregate, or if they're going to move to another state. But right now, Ohio, Iowa, I still think these states are going to narrowly go to the GOP. If we're talking about basing it off of the 2016 and 2018 map, just a very, very early prediction based off that alone. I'm not we can hold that to the 2020 map. I think Minnesota would remain the same. I think Nevada would remain the same. Arizona, Florida, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. These states I'm actually going to leave blank. Now, I know you guys definitely hate when I do that. The only real reason for that is because I don't think I have enough substantial data for me to accurately make a prediction in any of these 5 states. These states are definitely going to get extremely close. I'm comfortable calling Texas for the GOP. I'm comfortable calling Minnesota for the Democratic Party. But when we come down to these states, some of them were decided by less than 1% back in 2016, shown different trends in 2018. For example, Arizona or Michigan or Pennsylvania or Wisconsin. Looking at these states, I don't have enough statistical information to make a general basis as to which political party would win here. Now, if I was to bet, I would say the Rust Belt goes blue, Arizona goes blue, and Florida goes red. Again, the Democratic Party is definitely going to have a little bit more, not necessarily, when I say an edge, I guess, based off what they have now, in states like Florida and Texas. And I know the margins have definitely gotten a lot closer than what we really are expecting, but it's still going to be very, very close, as it is every single election. So I guess the Democrats end up with an edge at 230 electoral votes, with Trump at 200, and not Trump, the Republican nominee at 221. But these 5, I would say, are probably going to be the closest of the election. And again, I'm really sorry for leaving them blank, and I know you're going to yell at me in the comments for it, but sometimes I'm not too comfortable making this early of a projection for every single state, especially when some states are going to become extremely, extremely close. Now, again, I apologize for it, but that wraps up this video. So thank you guys for watching this video. Oh, wait, I had one thing to say. I am working on the subscriber decided election night for the Senate, and it's going a little bit slow because I have to get pictures and create PNGs where there are none for these no-name candidates that are just going to be in opposition that I like to use, pretty steady format for my election nights. But that might take a little while. I may end up pushing that until after the 26th of August, which is, I know, a long time away from now, but that's when I return in the United States. So that would be the best time because I would actually have good Wi-Fi. Right now I'm working on about 1 megabyte per second compared to at home, which is around 100. Just to put an example, it takes 3 hours for this video to upload. It'll probably take around, actually, yeah, this one will probably take 3-4 hours to upload, so probably won't be seeing it until 9-10 a.m. Eastern time. Yeah, right now it's 6:25 p.m. So yeah, so thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I will see you all tomorrow.